And hello, everyone. Welcome to the Copyright 2.0 show, episode number 336. 3 plus 3 equals 6. This episode is officially a math problem. My name is Simple Math Problem. My name is Jonathan Bailey from the site Plagiarism Today, which can be found at plagiarismtoday.com. And joining me, as usual, the co-host with the most demand that had no trouble figuring out the aforementioned math problem, Patrick O'Keefe with the iFroggy Network at iFroggy.com. Patrick, how have you been?
I've been fine. How are you?
Doing fine, doing fine. I apologize if there's a little bit of mess behind me. We're doing a lot of rearranging work, and some stuff from the new bedroom that was storage room ended up in here temporarily. It will be gone next week. It better be. But so a little bit more clutter than usual behind me.
It's really messing up the acoustics. Your voice isn't bouncing off the walls with its usual buoyancy.
Yes, I don't get the triple echo off this corner that I usually get.
Yeah. But, you won't be able to hit the same notes today.
No, I will not. Well, I can hit no notes. I mean, basically, I have the exact same range of Frank Sinatra, which is basically talking over smooth jazz.
Oh, boy.
And now the Frank Sinatra fans are all mad at me. Wasn't that in the... Yes, that was a crack at him in the epic rap battle. Huh. Yeah, Freddie Mercury made that clip. Well, Freddie Mercury made that clip to Frank's. You know what I mean? But anyways.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I can't remember every line, but yeah.
I think it was you have 4 notes in the whole range or something like that.
Oh yeah,
some joke like that.
Yeah,
something about that. But yeah. So how have you been though? How's things been going for you?
They've been fine. Yeah, fine. Nothing too much. Just working, keeping busy. Watched Righteous Kill last night, movie with De Niro and Pacino.
How was it?
From 08 rather. It was good. Yeah, it was good. They're both cops. It's got twists.
It gets one thumb up from Patrick at least.
Yeah, I mean it was a good movie. I tend to, for the most part, there's not many movies I don't really enjoy in some way. I know that Sharknado 2 is premiering tonight. Oh, it's tonight that it's premiering? Yeah, I don't know. Obviously it's in a weird place because what we think of as campy movies, in many cases weren't meant to be campy. Like looking back at 80s movies, 90s movies, we think, oh, that's campy. That's that has a cult following. They didn't set out to do that necessarily. Yeah. But with Sharknado, it's like this genre of films where they're purposefully trying to do that really on some level because they want people, because there's benefits to it, financial, online, people talk about it, it gets traction. It's like purposefully campy. So I did see the first one, watched it on Netflix, me, Sean, and Trent, I think, and we enjoyed it, I guess, more or less for what it is. And I don't know if we're gonna watch the sequel of the second Tornado of Sharks tonight.
Well, I've got to be honest. I just saw the first Sharknado last month, I believe it was. The people at Riff Tracks did a Riff Tracks live event. You went to local theater and you watched them do it live. And it was they were not physically there. They were on the screen, but what was being projected on the screen was live, basically.
Gotcha.
But they did a very good riff of it. They had a field day with Tara Reid in that film. But yeah, it was actually a very good Riff Tracks, and it's like you said. As a fan of these garbage horror style movies, I did a review show about them for a time. It's kind of weird for me to think that there's now a genre of horror and horror-esque films like this, or disaster films, that are intentionally campy. Yeah, there's enough unintentional camp.
Yeah, I mean, people who made those movies that we think of as campy, they were trying to make the best movie they could. It just came out campy, and so we get a case here where you have sci-fi trying to make a movie where I don't know. I don't want to say they're trying to make not a good movie, but obviously there's an intent there with the idea of Sharknado and how it's done to be campy on purpose, because sci-fi has a few bucks if they really wanted to do it differently.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing about it. When you get movies, like there are really, really good movies, right? Like Citizen Kane gets thrown out all the time. Casablanca, you know what I mean? The classics. The really, really good. Exactly. Ghostbusters is an epic movie. It goes up there. Those are about 10 out of 10. You know what I mean? Those are perfect films. And then it sort of tapers off, and then you hit like this trough right here in like 6 to 4. Where it's not necessarily a terrible movie, but it's not really great. It's not really interesting. It's just kind of meh, And then,
and there comes a point where it becomes clear that they didn't spend much money on
Yeah, spend much money, much energy.
Not that money equals quality, because there are some low-budget movies, but usually the low-budget good movies at least spend a couple million, 5 million. You know, there's an M in there. It wasn't 100,000 usually.
Yeah.
They spent a few bucks. They just didn't have a big budget.
And they didn't spend enough time and nurturing and love and care and all that stuff. But then there comes a point once you get past that 12 where it starts to pick up again and gets more entertaining. It's so bad, it's good department, you know?
Right.
And what's weird is, and that forms like a little mountain, because when you get to the ones, there's some movies that are just so bad they're god-awful no matter what context you try to put them in. There's no jokes will save that movie. But, you know, and what we're seeing is a lot of, like, sci-fi and these other, like, the Asylum is who they're partnering with for a lot of these films. They're actually intentionally trying to hit that valley there of being entertaining, being so bad they're good, rather than, you know, just happening to land on it. You know, shooting to make a movie that was a 7 or an 8 or so and then missing. You know?
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned the Asylum, and yeah, I mean, I guess that's what you could say in a way is that they are. I don't know if they started out that way because they've been around for a while, but that's essentially what they are these days, what you think of them as. And I've seen a few of their movies now. Yeah. I've seen, you know, a Zombie Apocalypse. I think I saw that one.
I've seen Giant Shark versus Mega Octopus, or Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus was one.
No, Rise of the Zombies is what I saw. Sorry, there's probably a few zombie movies they've made. I saw that one. I saw their take on Sherlock Holmes.
Yes, I saw that one too.
Yeah, where they
that that goes down to the 2 and the 1. That's just god awful. I'm sorry.
It's tough because I enjoy Sherlock Holmes, and the way I explain it to Sean is I enjoy Sherlock Holmes, and I've seen a lot of Holmes. I've seen the Basil Rathbone. I've seen obviously the current movie. I've seen the BBC show now, Benedict Cumberbatch, and I've seen a couple other iterations here or there. But you know, I did enjoy that on some level in a Holmesian way. But of all the Holmes I've seen, it is my least favorite. That's the way I described it.
Patrick, your generosity floweth like a river.
Knows no bounds.
They will write tomes about your generosity and kindness on this review.
Yeah, and I just love there's a movie they made called Titanic 2.
Oh.
I haven't seen that one, but it exists.
You know, it reminds me there was a Doctor Who episode where they were on board as like a space replica of the Titanic. And the doctor asked him, why'd you make the ship like the Titanic? Because it's the most famous ship on Earth. Did anybody tell you why it's the most famous ship on Earth? There's a very important reason you might want to know, type thing. Yeah, and that reason is there shouldn't be a sequel to Titanic.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so Space Titanic should be your sequel to Titanic. That should be how you do it, yeah.
And once in a while, they'll cast an actor you know in an interesting kind of ish role, which I think is one of the ways they get by. Once in a while, I'll see an actor in their film.
Yeah,
like,
Gary Busey.
I know that guy, and he did okay. Yeah,
Gary Busey winds up in them a lot. It seems these types of movies a lot.
Yeah, you know it's kind of rough when your Wikipedia page, your filmography has 5 categories, not just year, title, director, and notes, but then mockbuster of.
Oh.
They list the film that you're supposedly a mockery of.
Like Transmorphers and Transformers and.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And apparently they're making a mockbuster of The Expendables 3. I didn't even know about this until just now.
Wait. Okay, hang on. I gotta think of the name on this one. It's The Replaceables.
No, not.
Dang it.
I don't know. You're kind of in the ballpark. You could probably get it if you sat here for a while. Mercenaries.
I would have taken a while for that one.
And it's like I think it's like a female version. It's meant to be a female version of The Expendables. Names I notice: Bridget Nielsen, Vivica Fox, Cynthia Rothrock. I noticed her because she's a well-known martial artist. Mm-hmm. That's about it for that one. Apparently this year they're releasing mockbusters of Edge of Tomorrow, Neighbors, RoboCop, Pompeii, The Expendables 3, Hercules, Legend of Hercules, and Maleficent.
What are they doing with Maleficent?
Apparently the movie is called Sleeping Beauty.
Well, I mean, okay, yes, that is technically a public domain.
Yeah, the RoboCop one is called Android Cop. Oh Oh boy.
Oh boy, this was gonna be one of those days.
And there's one called Bermuda Tentacles, which isn't a mockbuster, but I think we can see where that's going.
Yeah, we can totally see where that one's going. You know.
It's got Linda Hamilton and Jamie Kennedy.
You know, it's really, really funny when you watch these movies, these B movies, both the intentional ones and the unintentional ones.
Yeah.
And you see actors you know from other things.
Yeah.
Like you know, I watched we did this review on Garbage Horror. There was a movie called Fist of the Vampire. It starred, but it had in it Blue Meanie, who is a professional wrestler that's been around for decades, but has absolutely zero acting talent. Has no business playing the main villain and having actual speaking roles in a movie, you know?
Yeah.
And it involved, let's see, remember, it was Darian Kane was her name, a former porn star turned scream queen, had done a lot of horror movies, up to that point known as kind of the vampire-y chick. But it's like, you know, Darian Kane makes sense, she does a lot of B movies, but it's like, Blue Meanies, like, this is your film debut? You know, it's like, wow, I feel very bad for you right now. But,
yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of looking at the cast list for Sharknado 2 because I actually didn't know anything about it until I saw it trending on Twitter today, probably because they're tweeting it and sponsoring it. Cast list includes obviously Tara Reid, Ian Ziering, Vivica Fox, Kelly Osbourne, Andy Dick.
Kelly Osbourne's in it?
Yeah, Andy Dick. And see, this is where they throw in actors that you know who are in things that you probably like. Judd Hirsch is in it. Was he in the last one? I'm trying to remember. I think he might. Yeah, he was in the last one, so he's back again. I want to say he was in the last one as a cab driver, which he is in this one. And Mark McGrath, who I know from Sugar Ray, I think is the lead singer of Sugar Ray, right? And Billy Ray Cyrus, Gerald Fogel, who I think is a Subway guy, right? Yeah. So, I mean, and they have Charles S. Dutton.
What was Jared's last name? Go back to that.
Fogel. Fogle.
Yeah, I can't get it. Now I know Jared from Subway's last name, everyone. You heard it from Patrick first.
And if you really want to know, apparently his middle name starts with an S.
Jared S. Fogel. I'm reasonably sure like 95% of our audience just learned something not copyright related.
And I'm sure it'll serve them well in their personal and professional lives. So.
You know, and I only say this, it's only funny to me because, well, we were playing Logo.
Okay.
A game that we both love to hate.
Had you waited long enough that the answers were now old to you again?
No, most of them are still reasonably current.
Okay, because you know that game. The thing about that game like that is that you have to, if you play it through once, all the cards, you need to wait a little while, right? If you come back too fast, you might have it.
We didn't get through all the cards. We didn't get through.
Okay, you're still working through it.
Yeah, we're still working through the first deck. We were playing Logo. And one of the questions was, who is the spokesman from Subway that lost a lot of weight eating sub sandwiches? And, of course, the card just says, Jared. It's like, that's all you need to know. One name. It's like Madonna. It's like, like Prince. It's Jared. Right there.
Yeah.
So even like Logo, this game about advertising trivia, didn't care enough about Jared to put his last name on the card.
So I guess you got it right, or Crystal got it right, or someone got it right.
I don't remember who it was asked to, but whoever it was got it right and rolled their eyes at having to answer that stupid question.
Bill.
Bill Nye. That was actually another question for Trivial Pursuit. Was this educational host goes by the name The Science Guy. And we're like, really?
Jill?
Jill Sly the Science Gal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, come on, really? That's a Trivial Pursuit question? Did we accidentally pick up the kids edition? Checking the box, make sure we got the right one.
Yeah.
Anyways, man.
Yeah.
So you want to jump into some copyright news? We got a fair amount to talk about today. This is an exciting show for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, we should. I think we should actually get into this. We have someone in the chat, Ellie Furr. Oh, I think it's a friend of yours.
Hey, Ellie. In the chat with us today. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Why is my chat not refreshing? I don't see her in there.
I got 4 people online, and one of them is her. So.
Okay, now it just updated. Apparently, Safari. I forgot I'm in Safari, so it doesn't always update immediately whenever I tab away to like look at you. So
don't do that anymore.
Don't look at everyone. I cannot look at Patrick for the duration of the show.
Okay.
But anyways, thank you, Ellie, for joining us. And first off, this week is not often we get to talk about bills that look like they're actually going to pass. But this is one episode where we are going to be talking about exactly that. A bill that will allow consumers to unlock their cell phones, their iPhones and Android devices, so they can move them to other networks. Like if you're on Verizon, you want to go to AT&T or vice versa. It has landed on the desk of President Barack Obama and is expected to be signed pretty soon. Obama has said he supports this and pretty much all legislation in this particular area. Now, to recap this whole mess, cell phone unlocking became illegal with the Digital Millennium Copyright Act of 1998, which, of course, cell phones didn't exist, at least not like they do today, you know? Not like everyone has one in their back pocket way. But basically, it made it so that you couldn't circumvent digital rights management, or DRM, protections. Now, that was designed at its core to prevent people from like ripping DVDs without permission or posting things online or getting access to content they didn't have access to. But it's been used in ways that don't directly involve content protection, and one of those ways has been to prevent and restrict the unlocking of cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there is an exemption process written into the law. Every 3 years, the U.S. Copyright Office and the Librarian of Congress get together. They have a bunch of public hearings, and everyone talks and does stuff, and they get little emails and stuff and think about it. And then they make a decision on what should be exempted from that exact clause. Now, 2 cycles ago, so 4-ish years ago, they ruled that cell phone unlocking should be legal. So for a time, it was. You could unlock your cell phone, no problem whatsoever. Then, when the last iteration came around, they refused, for whatever reason, to renew it. And when they did that, it hit the fan. And you know what it is. There were protests, there were petitions being signed, and in fact, enough petitions were signed at the White House website, official petition website, that they received a response, and that's where Obama publicly backed cell phone unlocking and said he would sign any bill and encourage Congress to draft it. Well, Congress did draft it. Congress has now passed it, House and Senate, and it is now on Obama's desk, even though it probably isn't going to make everyone very happy due to its limited nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to say one thing though, because in this article it mentions the Librarian of Congress, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the guy who's in that role now, or the man, is James Billington. And I looked at his profile. Have you looked? Do you know much about him?
No, I do not.
I didn't either.
Educate me.
So James Hadley Billington was appointed, as it mentions in this article, by Reagan. He's been in the role since '87 through Reagan, George Herbert Walker Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama. So we're coming up on, this is the 27th year that he's been in that role, and he's the 13th person to fill the role, and from what I'm looking at here, he is the 3rd longest tenured one of any Librarian of Congress. So he's been in the role right now. He's 85, still in this role, still working. So he deserves some serious credit for that sort of longevity as a Librarian of Congress. That's off topic, I know.
But I bet when he introduces himself, and like, oh, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a librarian. I'm a librarian.
Are all your books current?
How big of a library? Oh, it's a pretty big library. It's in Washington D.C. It's pretty big. Yeah. It's sizable. You know.
All right. So back to the story. This is really for unlocking outside of contract, right? Because people would still be tied to their contractual terms, whatever they agreed to when they sign on with the carrier.
Yeah.
If the contract says you can't, they give you a discount because you're locked in this contract, you can't unlock your phone. This wouldn't erase those contractual obligations. This just kind of prevents there from being some sort of forever clause or some sort of issue outside of contract where you can never unlock.
Never move your phone to another network. Yeah.
Yeah, never move your phone to someone else after contract.
And to be clear, there's never been a real problem here. Most of the time, when you're out of contract, your cell provider will unlock it for you. Once you hit the end of your contract, your cell provider will generally unlock it for you. And so there really hasn't been a huge issue, but yeah, it is kind of weird that it is illegal for you to do it yourself, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
and
why should I have to ask permission?
Yeah, and there might be cases, even for fringe cases,
yeah,
where a carrier refuses or a carrier disappears.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and that could be a very real threat with a lot of these local providers I see that seem to come up and go away so quickly.
And if someone gets acquired or something too, maybe the new company doesn't. Like, we don't really know what you're doing with that phone. Goodbye.
Yeah, I don't really know if any of the major you got me doing it now, carriers, that don't unlock phones for you after the completion of the contract. In fact, when I got my new phones, I gave my previous ones, they were iPhone 4s, I gave them to friends who needed phones. I wiped them clean and said, here you go, unlock it and do what you want. Take it to Sprint. You'll have to take it to Verizon, have them unlock it. Once you do that, you take it wherever,
Yeah.
And they did it with no problems. So I know it's not been a huge issue in terms of getting it done, but it is sort of the principle of the thing I think that bothers me. What's interesting is how narrow this law is. It doesn't actually make any changes to the DMCA. It doesn't say cell phones legal to unlock forever. DMCA does not cover cell phones, or this particular aspect of cell phones at the very least. What it does is it undoes the lack of renewal from the Librarian of Congress, which means in a couple of years' time, when this whole debate comes up again, which it will, the Librarian of Congress can just go, you know what, screw you, Congress, we're not renewing that. You're going to have to go back again. So it could be taken away, theoretically, again in the future.
Yeah, so...
That's at least the theory.
Government at work.
That's your government at work, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is it's always struck me that this is kind of weird. This is covered under the DMCA. The DMCA Anti-Circumvention, my understanding was that its primary focus was restricting access to content. You can't rip that DVD to your hard drive because of DRM software, whether you like that idea or not. That was the goal and the focus, was that type of thing. Not necessarily preventing you from refilling your printer cartridges or moving your cell phone to a new network, I always think that was a little outside the purview of a copyright law to me.
Yeah, that's why we needed the Digital Millennium Copyright Act of 1998 was because of printer cartridges. The law had to be adapted to be up to speed with the latest technological advances in printer cartridges.
The printer cartridges that have ink in them that's more valuable than human blood.
Right. I mean, once you put a computer chip in the printer cartridge, that changed the game.
Yeah, it did, actually. It really did. It's not actually a joke in there. That's actually just truth. Yeah. At some point, they did decide, hey, we can put tiny little chips in these cartridges, and guess what? Even though you still have 25% of your ink, we're going to tell the printer it's totally out, and there's nothing you can do.
And we mean nothing. Besides, bring it back to Staples.
Yeah.
All you can do is bring an empty cartridge back to Staples.
And get the recycling, like a token amount for it. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous, frankly. And, that's not... Love or hate that part of the DMCA, it's never felt like it should have been about cell phone unlocking. It's been more about content and copyrighted content.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's always seemed weird to me.
Copyrighted contents of the cartridge.
I see what you did there. Actually, no, I don't. Not at all. Well, speaking of unintended, okay, Patrick, have you ever heard, in all the times we've done this show, have you heard of the Audio Home Recording Act in 1992?
No.
Have we mentioned it? You're usually in my archive of these things. I don't think I even have this as a tag in my Dago, which Dago has, my Dago has thousands of links. Let me actually do this. Hang on a second. I'm curious now. I'm going to pull up my Dago. I'm pulling it up in another tab here. Just give me a minute before we get into the story. Humor me. AHRA, Audio Home Recording Act. I have nothing in my Dago. I probably have... How many links do I have in there? I'm pretty sure there's a thing that tells me. I have over... God damn, I have over 7,000 links in my Dago. But nothing on... And it goes all the way back to, I think, 2000 and... let me see... 2008. So 6 years of my linking history in Dago, and nothing mentioning this law. And so we're talking about it today for the first time. Isn't that something? That's history right there. Copyright 2.0 show history is being made today. And it's being made thanks to Ford and GM. just because the story gets weirder. But yes, the Audio Home Recording Act basically said that if you produce a device that is designed to copy home audio, like CD ripper type things, is what I'm guessing they were truly targeting here, you would have to pay a royalty fee to a new group that was created called the Alliance of Artists and Recording Companies, the AARC, which would then disperse those royalties to others. Now, the reason you probably haven't heard about this law is because, A, it was passed in 1992 before either of our times. I mean, I was 12 years old, and I'm assuming, you would have been 8, right?
In 1992, yeah, depending on when. If they did it past November 8, before November 7.
Let's not split hairs. Yeah, you would have been 8-ish. At least. So yeah, neither of us really thinking all that much about copyright when 1992 rolled around. And I think the most I was doing was visiting like bulletin boards online that you had to dial in with a modem, the 2800 baud, and I don't know. Computing was sad in that time. Yeah. It was a very sad era for computers.
Yeah, I didn't get a computer until 93. Our family got our first computer in 93. It was an Apple Centra 610. It cost $3,000 with the monitor and printer.
Do you still have that around?
My family did until semi-recently, a while back. Yeah, no, not anymore. Not anymore, sorry.
I was about to say, those are kind of valuable as antiques now.
Yeah. No, we don't have that. We don't have the antique Apple anymore.
There are people that actually collect that stuff. I mean.
Yeah, so somebody may have got a great deal then, but yeah, it was first computer. I didn't get online until 95. So yeah, and in 92 I was listening musically. I mean, I listened to what my parents listened to. I mean, when I was 8, and I really started getting into music. I think. Well, no, I mean, I remember having the Bill and Ted soundtrack on CD. And I think that was like my first CD my parents got me, was like the Bill and Ted, the first Bill and Ted soundtrack, I think. So whatever year that came out. And then I got a cassette of, I think in 93 was TLC's Crazy Sexy Cool. And that was the first album that I really got into myself.
Very first CDs
if I say I didn't rip that to anything.
Yeah, well, there was nothing to rip it with or to at the time, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I got a bunch of I got like a bunch of CDs like at once for my first CDs. I was a couple. There were like 2 or 3 REM CDs. I was really in REM at the time. A Joan Jett CD. It was the Up Your Alley CD and Metallica's Black Album and Load. I got them all in probably the same pack. So whenever that was, I have no idea. I think Metallica's Load was brand new at the time, so it would have been like 96. I was finally getting my own CDs, but 95, 96 in that range. So yeah, I didn't really get into my own music until much later than a lot of people. And a lot of that was just because I was happy with what my parents listened to. My parents were into 60s and 60s, 50s music, and there's some awesome stuff. There's a lot of great stuff to listen to from those decades. But anyways, the Audio Home Recording Act, the other reason you probably haven't heard of it is because last year, according to this article, it's from Eric Gardner, the Hollywood Reporter, who you know how I feel about him and how much I love his work. He notes that last year they recouped only $748,000 in royalties and some change. $740,000 in royalties, which is a pitifully small amount, you would think. And the reason it was so pitifully small is because in the late 90s, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that MP3 players were not digital audio recording devices, or DARDs, which sounds either like an offensive term or something from Doctor Who. I'm not sure which. The Dardist, maybe? No. But the point of the matter is, once MP3 players were kind of pushed off the table, the royalties dried up pretty quickly. Very few things clearly fell in these DARDs. However, the AARC says, wait a minute, we have something that definitely is. A bunch of cars by GM and Ford have this audio system, which actually sounds pretty freaking cool, where you put in your CD, and in addition to playing the CD for you and the speakers, it will rip the CD to an internal hard drive that can store 2,000 songs for access later. Now, ARC has sued Ford and GM for unpaid royalties, saying, hey, This is clearly a digital audio recording device, just happens to be one on 4 wheels. So we feel it's covered underneath the law, and you owe us lots of back royalties for every car.
Yeah.
This is long and short of it.
You know what I wish I had done before the show is to look up the actual cars that are offering this and see how they're managed. Because I did read about the Act a little bit, and the Audio Home Recording Act of 1992, and I mean it's clear how limited it is.
Oh yeah.
Scope. It's clear how narrow it is. If they can only make that much money, you know, they lost the golden goose when they lost MP3 players. I mean, more or less here, and so go ahead, sorry.
Well, the models of cars are actually listed in the article. It's the Buick LaCrosse, the Cadillac CTS, the Chevy Volt, that's the electric car, I believe, or the GMC Terrain, and the Ford Mustang. The Ford Mustang and the Ford Taurus, as well as the Lincoln Navigator.
So let me pull up the Buick LaCrosse website here. But you know, the Act, like you said, I mean, the Wikipedia page has, like you referred to, the Wikipedia page says that it failed because it one, the reproduced files from computer hard drives, which were specifically exempted. And two, it could not record directly from a radio or their transmissions. But I mean, pretty much the problem is pretty much everything uses a hard drive. Yeah. So I mean, I had to think what doesn't use a hard drive, and I read the article. CDs don't use a hard drive. Oh, yes, of course. Blank media CDs don't use a hard drive, I guess. So, but then again, they can always burn from a hard drive. So the whole hard drive thing is a big loss here, and the article notes that the car makers are labeling these as hard drive devices. So if they use a hard drive, then it would seem like this isn't a very strong case. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, it may be a last gasp. It may be an attempt to reapply the law, or maybe an attempt to cover it. But no, honestly, I don't really know how these things work in terms of how they comply with the law. Yeah, it says it cannot. The exemption is in which one or more computer programs are fixed, and that's kind of a weird exemption, you know?
Yeah, I don't even. Yeah, I read that. I'm not even sure
what that means. I
mean, does that mean if I installed, I don't know, let's say Microsoft Office, it's a fixed program. I mean, am I good to go? Like, what is? I don't understand that fixed program. What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, I mean. It's a bit confusing to me in that terminology, but it seems to me like this might be the best chance at making the law relevant again there is, but it still seems like a long shot to me.
Yeah, let's go after the cars that have hard drives in them that burn CDs or rip CDs.
But I mean, you also have to admit that where a $1 to $12 royalty payment for an MP3 player could really jack up the cost of an MP3 player, depending upon the storage.
Yeah, $1 to $12.
A $1 to $12 royalty on a car probably won't even be noticed.
Right.
So there may be an opportunity, at the very least, for a quick settlement here, because I mean, yeah, we'll jack up the price by $6 to $12, but $6 or whatever, and no one's even going to notice.
You know, I'm looking at the car websites for these models, and I haven't. I mean, I'm doing quick scans. They all have technology in the car. What technology? So I figure it would be in there. But I'm not seeing it on the website even. I don't know. The first two I checked, the LaCrosse and the Cadillac CTS. Now I'm on the Volt website to see if I could find something about ripping CDs or storing music or listening to music or anything like that, and I'm just not seeing anything. Now, they could have removed it under threat of the all-too-powerful AHRA, but I kind of get the sense that they didn't. So, I don't know. I'm just not seeing much here as far as the big benefit here of that they're supposedly touting of ripping CDs, which in this day and age doesn't tell that much.
And the other thing is, yeah, that's not a huge selling point in a lot of ways, because, I mean, cars really don't advertise based upon their stereo system that much anymore. It used to be a big selling point. You know, it's got the big Dolby surround sound speakers, but now it's all, it's got the screen with the navigation, DVD player, Bluetooth. You know, it's everything else that's advertised.
Yeah, and while it's a nice feature, I mean, people are used to having their music on their phone or their device or whatever, and they bring that along. I mean, people for better or for worse, cars weren't on board with that early on, so people got used to other devices, and like I don't know. I mean, I spend that time in a lot of cars, but I haven't been in any cars that had this, or anybody who was like, oh, I wish I could put my CDs or put my audio in my car, which I see the convenience of it, and I kind of like the idea of it because the more seamless experience you can have with the dashboard, with the screen, is better. Like I'd rather have Spotify on my car than having to fiddle with my phone, certainly. But yeah, I don't know. But this is kind of a weird out of left field sort of case, using terminology we haven't heard, if ever, or in a long time at least. Things like DARD, things like the AARC, the Alliance of Artists and Recording Companies. I mean, that's I don't even necessarily, I'm sure we might have talked to them, but that's one that I can't recall hearing. Like we've talked about many international rights organizations, many in the U.S. AARC is a rare one.
Yeah, and one of the reasons is they only collected $750,000 in royalties, which is a pretty paltry amount. I mean, and that's down a significant percent from previous years. Yeah. So it's an amount that's in decline.
I mean, Jonathan, let's be fair though. Their 4-person staff gets a lot done, okay?
4 people? No, I'm pretty sure they have less than that.
Yeah, no. I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to think. What are all the expenses they could have? Let's see. Office, paper, computers, and people. So.
8-person.
2 to 4 people, maybe 2 to 3. I don't know. Well, I mean, funny if just one person.
Well, it came out today. This is true. The budget for the Center for Copyright Information came out. That's the group that oversees the quote unquote 6 strike system in the U.S. This isn't a story in the show notes, but it has a budget of $3 million, and it only has 1 full-time paid employee.
Huh. That's a good business. That's what they call a lifestyle business.
Yeah, they spend previous year at least they spent about $2 for each notice they sent.
The AARC website uses like
they have a website.
Yeah, or their website is WordPress, which is fine. I mean, I use WordPress as a CMS, but their theme is the Coraline theme, which and once you see it, you'll know you've seen it before. And it's just a really basic theme for WordPress. They have some Flickr photos and some purple text, and yeah, I don't know. The latest news item is they filed a class action lawsuit against Ford, GM, and 2 electronics manufacturers, Denso and Clarion. Yep.
Yeah, the suppliers.
Yep.
Oh, I have seen that theme. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The very you recognize it immediately because of the sidebars, as strange as that sounds.
Yeah, and how they are organized, the heading.
Yeah. Yep. So there you go. But still, I mean, it's a very interesting case, and I'm going to be following this one pretty closely because I've never heard of the AARC or this act. I was unaware of its existence, and because it amuses me. And who knows, I might be in the market, helping people shop for cars soon, so this could be useful. Well, we got 2 stories coming up about another amusing footnote. FilmOn. The first story is about FilmOn in Manhattan, which the judge there has said that she is very likely, according to this article, we're at Advanced Television, to agree with a motion of contempt against FilmOn because FilmOn continued operating for weeks after the Supreme Court ruling that shuttered its opponent, its main rival, Aereo.
Yeah, they weren't like everything with FilmOn. The news took a few weeks extra to get to them.
It's not their fault. They have a huge delay on their DVRs. Okay, look, the technology FilmOn runs on is ancient. It was probably that Apple. They probably bought that Apple that your parents had, and that's what they said.
That's one of the tiny antennas.
One of the tiny antennas right there. It took them forever to get the signal. They didn't hear about Aereo, but yeah, no Aereo decision. Was handed down, I think it was like, does it say in this article it was June 25th or something like that?
Yeah, it does say in the article.
June 25th. Aereo suspended or paused its service on June 28th. So 3 days, not bad.
Yeah.
FilmOn rather, held on until July 8th. Effectively, pretty much 2 weeks after it was announced. The ruling was announced.
Yeah, July 8th would have been one... Yeah, just under 2 weeks, 1 day
later. Like 13 days, I think it was.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like this is kind of blurred line. Because it's like, you know, what I mean, what's okay, what's not? 2 days is 3 days is okay. 13 days bad. So would 6 days be okay? Would 9? I guess it's just up to the judge to kind of pass judgment on. 13, though, I mean, objectively still long, where 3 seems in the more reasonable category. So, yeah, but I don't know. What's going to happen to FilmOn? They just have shut off their service. And the weird thing about FilmOn is that when you go to Aereo, you get the sense that there's actual, like, major programming being streamed. When you go to FilmOn, it's like all these indie channels that you see. So
yeah,
I didn't
still. Good. Yeah, that's what's weird about FilmOn is they still have television you can stream right now. If you want to watch the Bikini Babe channel, FilmOn's your source, man. I'm just saying, FilmOn's got.
I'm sure it's popular. But this mentions something about New York customers streaming to their phones. Maybe they did this like a service in New York, like Aereo had.
Yeah, it was a limited area service. Yeah. It was the New York only that they tried to set up elsewhere. I mean, but going back in time, remember, where Aereo kept having legal successes in the lower courts, it took the Supreme Court that sort of, to knock them down.
Mm-hmm.
FilmOn just kept getting beaten senseless. They were a punching bag in the courts for the broadcasters. They kept getting beat, and so you thought they would have been a little better prepared for the Supreme Court loss.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there. It seems kind of weird that
they'd already been bruised pretty badly, so they should have been used to it by then.
They should have been used to losing. Yes, basically is my argument. But yeah, they now do offer UK live TV. I'm noticing this on their site.
Yeah.
So maybe
we don't know what that is though. It could be just like
some
people using British accents. Let's see.
Yeah, there's nothing about the FilmOn operation that inspires confidence and professionalism to me, and that's
I'm looking at it right now, and I clicked on UK Live TV because you can't, because it would impugn upon your integrity as a copyright and plagiarism consultant. But I am free as an independent citizen to just click on that link and see what happens. And right now, where I am is like 2 people chatting. Like two people chatting on a video.
Like what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly like we're doing, but they're side by side. There's a chat room overlay. So that's the UK Live TV. There's nothing. It's not TV really at all. It's more like a Google Hangout with chat over it. And it's one guy outside, one guy in a room with a door closed. They're just chatting. There's no news. Like there's no TV being. It's just a conversation. So real high quality programming from FilmOn.tv.
Yeah, but apparently, they couldn't even be wrong right, to quote the Smothers Brothers, because, like I said, they didn't shut down their service time. Now they're facing a contempt motion, and it's just, it's like the question of, okay, Aereo finally loses in the Supreme Court. They lose. How can FilmOn lose worse? They found a way. It's amazing. It's like nature and life and Jurassic Park. Life finds a way. FilmOn finds a way.
No matter what Aereo does, it's like how there's like it's like I can do better. I can do better than you.
I can do worse.
Yeah, exactly. FilmOn's like, well, you did that. Well, guess what? We've got a big surprise for you. You thought that was bad. Wait till you see what we do.
Yeah, you fell on your face. I can fall on my face while on fire.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Into a tank full of piranhas. Beat that area.
Come on.
Yeah, it's just they really are. It's getting kind of sad actually, and it's about to get more sad because the next story is about FilmOn 2. Now, this time they admittedly did not fail worse than Aereo. Other than the fact this is their second attempt at this, and they failed the exact same way both times. So is it worse to fail twice? I don't know. That's a philosophical debate, more than that one clear answer. But yeah, so FilmOn attempted to do the exact same thing Aereo did. Aereo, after its loss at the Supreme Court, said, hey, since the Supreme Court ruled that we're functioning like a cable company, well, then we're going to apply under Section 111 of the Copyright Act to obtain a statutory license to rebroadcast this content like a cable company. Hey, we're a cable company, fine, treat us like a cable company, charge us that statutory license. Well, when Aereo tried it, the Copyright Office said, well, we don't really think that Section 111 applies to things distributed over the Internet. So we can't really process it. They didn't outright deny it, but they withheld processing of it pending court rulings and stuff, which is coincidentally the same thing that happened when FilmOn tried it way back when this whole Aereo FilmOn saga began, right?
Yeah.
They tried it once, same thing happened to them. Then Aereo lost in the Supreme Court. Aereo tried it, but when Aereo lost in the Supreme Court, FilmOn decided, hey, second chance, let's do it again. And they got the exact same response, basically that we don't believe, blah, 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 applies to Internet streaming, blah, blah, blah. We're going to withhold judgment until we see what the courts have to say, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah. So it's like, once again, I don't really know. I guess it's a little bit funnier because they stepped on the same rake twice. But they kind of had a reason to think the rake might not be there.
Again, Aereo got hung up once on that, and FilmOn somehow got hung up twice on that.
It's like Sideshow Bob right in the face with the rake again. But they did at least have a reason to think that this time the rake wouldn't be there based upon the Supreme Court decision. They might have thought that the Copyright Office would change its mind, but it didn't. So there you go. And I do find it interesting that this article, this one's on Media Post. It also mentions when FilmOn stopped, which is July 8th. So, just saying. Well, speaking of blurred lines, and reference to your previous joke, Pharrell Williams and I guess Michael Thicke through...
That's totally wrong. There's no Michael. It's not Alan Thicke. His father is it's Robin Thicke. No Michael Thicke. Who is that? Wow. There's no Michael in this story even. That's one of the things that just happens sometimes. And I'm making it worse because it happens to everyone. It happens to everyone.
If
you had said Marvin Thicke, that would have been more understandable. Like there's Marvin Gaye. Marvin Thicke.
No, I pulled
Pharrell Thicke or Robin Williams. Anything like that. It would have been closer.
I pulled a name completely out of my butt and inserted it into the story for no discernible reason. I mean, I have no idea, but yes, it is Robin Thicke, who will probably now be known better as the guy that inspired the Word Crimes song by Weird Al Yankovic. But yeah, Pharrell Williams and Robin Thicke and company have filed a motion for summary judgment in the ongoing case against the estate for Marvin Gaye. Now, the estate for Marvin Gaye, as you'll recall, made some rattles that the hit Blurred Lines was basically a derivative work of Marvin Gaye's hit song "Got to Give It Up," and they've had some discovery. They've had some pretty ugly back and forth between the two. But now Pharrell Williams and Robin Thicke are trying to make the argument that basically the Gaye estate have not supported their claims at all, and that this case should be dismissed now without ever reaching a jury. And their argument basically is that, hey, they haven't even proved that there were two notes that were the same. Why should we listen to this case any further?
In thinking about this, I don't think this isn't one of those cases that I think is definitely going to go farther. I personally could see this being dismissed right here because I think they make some great points, and also I listened to the songs, and I don't know what I said way back when we first talked about this, but the people behind the song, I'm not sure if it was Williams, Thicke, or both, said that they were inspired by Marvin Gaye. That doesn't mean that they ripped off a song. And if you listen to the songs, you can hear that, there's similarities of some kind in how they... but much of it is not similar in any way. So there's just nothing there. Like, it doesn't sound to me like there's anything there. I'm not an expert, of course, but I just don't see this as going much farther based upon what I've listened to and what I've read about this.
And that's one of those things. Is I'm like you. I'm not by any stretch an expert in music plagiarism. Whenever people come to me with music plagiarism stuff, I have people I ship them to. Like, you talk to that person.
Right.
I know nothing about this. I'm decent with text and images, and to a degree video, but, not audio at all. Audio, I don't understand the language of music well enough,
Yeah.
to tell you much about it. But, yeah, I'm like you. I listen to the two songs. I hear how stylistically they're similar. You could say they're in the same genre. You could say they are similar in many ways, but I don't hear anything that overlaps. Usually with these songs, it's like, yeah, that hook's the same, or that beat's the same. Usually you can kind of grasp what they're leaping toward as being either really, really similar or identical. Here, I just hear two songs that could be in the same genre and would go together well on, like, a Pandora station.
Right.
That's what I hear. Yeah. I'm hearing, wow, this would go great on my Spotify list. It's just, it doesn't really strike me as infringement just because the two songs are similar. And I think you're right. I don't think this lawsuit's guaranteed to go anywhere. I think there's a very good chance it could die right here and right now. Of course, if it does, there's still going to be an appeal of the summary judgment. But, even that likely isn't likely to succeed unless there's some kind of error here being made. And I don't know. I'm just not feeling it. But, I got to say, the accusations, that Williams makes here, or his attorneys make, basically that, the gay estate heard some talk that they were inspired by it, smelled blood, and tried to compel, a settlement out of it.
Smelled money, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty harsh language.
Yeah, it's pretty harsh language. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that they are, they're coming in and accusing them of taking from Marvin Gaye, and I don't know. I mean, I can see how they, I can see how they could feel a certain way about that, Pharrell and Robin Thicke, and let's be honest, that's what a lot of estates do. Mm-hmm. So I guess that the lawyer in this case is whoever wrote this. I don't know if it's Pharrell writing this or the lawyer. Probably the lawyer. Maybe with some inspiration from Pharrell. Maybe he's back there saying, "Yeah, say that, say that." Most likely it's the attorney. But yeah, that could be truth. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. And I forget, it's because it's been so long, if the estate mentioned anything along those lines or used any harsh language themselves as they filed that.
And this is, when you're filing for a summary judgment, that's usually the point you're going to throw the big bombs. That's usually the point you're trying to, really get the jabs in. During discovery, during all the stuff that leads up to this, typically it's kind of, laid back.
Yeah.
You're typically not going to trade barbs. You're not going to be aggressive because this is a time where you want to be cooperative. That's how you move the case forward, is by working together to complete discovery.
Yeah.
But once discovery is complete and you're trying to sell the judge that, this case needs to be tossed, or you need to rule in our favor one way or the other, that's when you really start, trying to, the gloves come off and you start trying to punch people square in the nose, basically.
Yeah.
That's like round one of the actual fight. And I think that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
Well, from round one of a fight to round 3,000 and some change, what do you think we're on with this one? I think the ring girl's awfully tired, is what I think. But we're talking Kim.com, and he has been ordered by a New Zealand judge to reveal his assets in this. And now, Kim.com, as I'm pretty sure most listeners know, was the head of Mega Upload and is the current head of MegUp, two file-sharing sites. Mega Upload, of course, shuttered January 2012, joint police action, New Zealand and United States, resulted in criminal action where he is currently facing extradition to the U.S. for criminal copyright infringement and money laundering. However, that has been delayed so long we're not even going to have the first hearing on it until sometime 2015. In the meantime, the movie studios filed their own lawsuit against him. It took civil action there in New Zealand, and they are claiming that Kim.com may be trying to dump his assets, or at least some of them, into his Internet Party, which is a political party he founded in an attempt to spread his ideology about what internet freedom should look like, etc.
Yeah.
They believe he is dumping large amounts of cash into that, and that the assets that are frozen, which are apparently just a little shy of $12 million, A, aren't enough to cover the likely damages in the case, and B, are not all that he has. So they're ordering a statement from him about all of his assets, including what's frozen and what's not. So I don't really know what else to say about it. I mean, it's
me neither.
It'll be interesting to see though what if he's assuming, of course, we do get a complete statement that there isn't some other legal wrangling after this. It will be fascinating to see what other assets he has. Because I mean, the studios are claiming that he's generated $175 million, but that only $11.8 million are currently securely frozen right now.
Right, and so
they're fast, you know.
So what the judge is saying here is that they've made a case for damages that go beyond the 11.8.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they want to make sure that he isn't spending his money recklessly.
Or trying to get rid of it, or trying to hide it somehow.
Yeah, because they have, obviously we've talked about his frozen assets a lot. He still has some assets that are not frozen. And I mean, how free should he be to use those? I don't know. It's a good question, but I guess we'll see what happens here.
Well, I mean, it's just yet another chapter in the saga of Kim.com, and it's actually been, this article points out that the same day that ruling came down, there was a hearing about unfreezing his assets, because remember the hold on his assets was set to expire. And a lower judge refused to renew it, so now that got appealed to a superior court, and that was actually just debated. And the judges are actually they're doing what's called a reserve judgment. That's where they don't rule on it right then and there. They go to their chambers, they talk about it, and they write up something, and then that will be the ruling later.
Right.
So we don't know how the ruling there is going to go, but that was the same day this got handed down. So. A lot of discussion about the assets of Kim.com. So, moving onward, and our final story this week, this one's kind of interesting. We've talked a great deal about the City of London police. The City of London is kind of a weird city-state within what we think of as London. They have a lot of autonomy, and they have their own police force that functions more like a national police than it would a city police. Well, they've been taking a lot of aggressive copyright action. We've seen them, seize domains by contacting registrars. We've seen them take additional action in contacting and trying to get these suspected pirate sites shut down. Well, now they are doing or preparing to launch an additional action which would target advertising on suspect pirate sites. And specifically, what they're doing is when UK visitors will have at least some of the ads on these sites replaced with ads that are sponsored by the City of London Police, and will warn people, hey, stay away from this site. This site is under criminal investigation by the City of London Police. You may want to go somewhere else and get your illegal content. And I think this is a fascinating approach, and I'll be curious to see A, how many sites they're able to hit, and B, how effective it is. It'll only impact, like I said, visitors from the UK, and I don't know why that is, but it means it.
I mean, so here's when I read the story, my thing was, how is this gonna work?
Yeah, I'm curious to see how.
Well, here I'll tell you how. So, and the way that I read another article about this, and could be wrong, but the way that I'm gathering is that so it's dependent on, first of all, the pirate sites using an ad service.
Yeah.
That is hooked in. Right. That is hooked in to Project Sunblock, which is a service that identifies websites that brands don't want their ads on. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it kind of assumes that they're working with an ad company that is at least somewhat legitimate. So, I don't know how big an assumption that is, because a lot of ad companies already refuse to work with a lot of pirate sites. So it seems to me, from what I've read, that it's contingent upon that. Because how else would it work, right? How else would it work? Yeah. I mean, how can they? The City of London Police have no, or should have no, authority to just randomly I recognize every UK traffic and somehow overlay their browsing experience with ads. There has to be a connection. So the connection is most likely the ad service, the ad network, ad serving technology, whatever it is, and that technology has to be hooked in with Project Sunblock, who is then serving this blacklist of sites and replacing the ads with ads for the City of London. So to me, it seems like it's kind of niche-ish in how many sites they'll be able to be applied to, because, like I said, it can't really work any other way. Like, they can't take over anyone's browser. Like I said, there has to be a way to get in. And I think it could impact some casual infringers. But then again, I think a lot of people who use who want to use a pirate site won't be affected by it. And as the comments
use ad blockers anyways.
Right, as I was just saying, as pointed in the comments here, a lot of them use ad blockers, and a lot of people would just disregard the ads anyway. So, I don't know. I think it's interesting, but just for the sake that they really can't do it for every site, they can't do it for a lot of people. It seems to me that it won't have much impact. It's just kind of odd.
And if I run a nefarious pirate site, and I see that my UK visitors are getting these ads, theoretically, at least, I can just switch to a different advertising partner.
Yeah, I mean, you just need to use one that doesn't use Project Sunblock, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, just find another. Hey, who's the Pirate Bay going with right now? They don't have these ads. It would be fairly trivial, I would think, to replace these. And if, like you said, if an ad agency or an ad service is already using Project Sunblock, is already working to keep pirate ads off their service, then most likely they've not got their ads on these sites.
Yeah.
I mean, especially the big ones, especially the big players. I mean,
unless there's something that I'm missing here, which of course could be possible.
Very
but
possible.
Again, there has to. Thanks. But
no, I mean, I'm missing it too.
That's highly possible, Patrick, that you missed something. But I mean, if you just think about it, and I have more experience in this with ads than you do. But if you think about how it works, there has to be a way to serve the ads. And so what ways could there be? Well, they could hack the website. They're not going to do that. They could somehow get into everyone's computers and browsers. They can't do that. They might be able to hook in with ISPs, and maybe ISPs can filter something based on ad sizes. I don't know. There's a really weird way around the bend sort of way to get at it, maybe. But chances are it's going to go through like an ad network or I don't know. I'd be interested to read because there's not a whole lot out there on it. But what I did.
Yeah, you would need to do some You could do that with the ads, but you would need to ensure you block the correct advertisers. Only the ads on those actual sites.
Yeah, there's potential there for some overreach, to say the least.
That sounds like might be possible, but it'd be difficult to do and especially without really raising some privacy concerns too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to be fascinating to see if they pull this off, how they pull it off, and what the impact is. I'm kind of personally skeptical, but, they seem convinced they're going to do this, and this is just another one of their things. They also have, like I said, the infringing website list, and, of course, their continuing efforts of working with registrars to get domains pulled. So, just another tool in their toolkit, I guess. Well, I am out of copyright news. You got any other thoughts?
Nope, I do not.
Well, on that note, everyone, my name again is Jonathan Bailey from the site Plagiarism Today, which can be found at plagiarismtoday.com. I am Plagiarism Today on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, LinkedIn, Instagram. Go ahead and add it. I'm probably there too.
And I am Patrick O'Keefe. I blog imagingcommunities.com. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and LinkedIn as Patrick O'Keefe. And thank you to Ellie Ferguson for joining us in the chat room.
Thank you very much, and we will see you guys next week.